And we're back with the Greenwash podcast. This is back after winter break. Imani, how are you?
Good. Thanks for asking.
How was your break?
Oh, it was great. I went to St. Louis, brought my girlfriend to St. Louis. I went up in the Arch. That was cool. I've only ever done that one other time in my life.
The only thing I know about the Arch is just Percy Jackson jumping off of it.
What? He jumped off the St. Louis Arch?
Like the book character.
No way.
Yeah, that was like in the... I forgot which book.
That's cool. I wasn't a Percy Jackson. I was a Harry Potter girl.
Oh,
and I thought Percy Jackson was like... for boys. Harry Potter probably for boys too, but my mom brainwashed me into thinking certain things were just for boys, so.
Yeah, that's true. I was a Harry Potter girl through and through.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Sorry, I was a Percy Jackson girl. I did read Harry Potter. I liked it, but it didn't, get me the same way Percy Jackson did.
I think Percy Jackson has a more solidified storyline because it's based in history.
That's
whereas,
true.
Harry Potter, they're kind of, making it up as they go. So
oh, my God. They started in the middle, and now they're trying to, make the backstory the front story. We don't talk about the sequel they did.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it.
It's a lot.
We don't talk about the cursed child. Mm-hmm. There is no cursed child.
Oh, my God. That was so controversial.
Oh, my. I read the screenplay, and I was
really?
I did. And
how old were you when you read it?
I was, maybe in the 8th grade.
Yeah, that's when it came out. That's why I asked.
I read the screenplay, and I was like, it was so, off. I was like, this has to be, badly written fan fiction.
It is.
You know?
That's exactly what it is.
I refuse to believe that's what happens to him. I'm like, no, it isn't. It never happened.
No, it isn't.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
So today, we're going to be talking specifically about bottles. And I want to say, just before we start, this episode is in commemoration of my old purple bottle. She got stolen twice. I had a white sticker that said my name, Sania Strawberry on it. The first time it got stolen, someone took off all the stickers and then put it back on the Damon front desk where all the stolen water bottles are. When people go to return, or basically missing. I don't know if anyone stole it. No one took it from me.
Were the stickers that
just
cool?
Also that's the equivalent of you losing someone and then finding them up beat up.
Yeah.
And I'm why did you take the stickers?
That's very funny. Just keep it.
And I got it back and then it cracked. It went for a solid 2 years, I'd say, because of COVID. I couldn't even go outside to lose the water bottle. I'm known as a water bottle serial killer, which is probably what we're going to get into now.
It's a strong label.
It's a strong label, but it's just I'm admitting my problem for once. Normally I'm trying to defend myself about this, but I truly could not.
It's a problem.
Since elementary school, I've not been able to keep a water bottle for more than a year. And then you think about 5 years of elementary school and then 2 years of middle school and 4 years of high school. And you think about how many bottles I've killed. And it's
that's a lot.
Except for the purple one. She lasted.
A substantial amount.
The purple one lasted until she broke. In fact, this is probably one of the first times that a water bottle has broken and I didn't lose it. So maybe this is a good moniker.
Maybe this is, third time's a charm.
Yeah. Right now I have a glass water bottle a la Target.
I was about to say, that's ambitious. Glass breaks.
I know. I'm scared. It has a silicone wrapping around it, though, so it's not just raw glass.
But not around the top part.
I know, but let's not bring
a case. Your water bottle needs a case, right?
I know. Look, I bought this when I came back from a flight and was really jet lagged, and I just went straight to Target, literally last week to get notebooks, pens for a new semester.
Yeah.
And I was just I need a water bottle. I don't have a water bottle. And I was just all right, this one, just pick it.
I'll get it.
Yep. And based off of my honestly very dark past when it comes to water bottles, this topic appeared sequentially in my research paper. So basically I'm going sequentially, by the way, calling back to the first episode. This entire podcast is just based off of me going off of this old research paper I wrote, and each section just going deeper into that and making it one episode. So plastic bottles, very on brand. I had been sent an article actually a week ago, and I thought it would make a good introduction. So if we classify the types of bottles, we have plastic single-use, we have plastic reusable, and then we have the glass and metal bottles. Glass just like this one right here. Yeah. And then first and foremost, let's just start from the top, kind of similar to the straws episode. We can start from plastic single-use, which I think everyone agrees is the problem. There's nothing much to say about them. They're basically what we have right now.
Such an eyesore.
They're ugly too.
Yeah, and there's just so many bottles. When you think about the sheer frequency of bottles in landfills, if we didn't use bottles, I bet that would be 30% of landfills. And also, water was not really drinking like this ever. There's never been a time in our world where water has been drinking like we're drinking it.
That's a good point. This is a very new thing.
Yeah,
like,
it's very new.
I mean, they kind of had like maybe flasks, I'd say,
yeah,
for like traveling.
Yes, but a water bottle,
a bottle,
daily.
And also flasks were mainly for travelers.
Yes.
It's like, okay, you have to store water with you and take it.
Yeah.
So that's not a new concept, obviously. But even then, the flasks were
it was so different. It was more like a
metal, leather, rawhide, those sort of materials, right?
You're getting down to the like 1800s.
1800s.
I'm on a horse and I have my
You're on a horse. You see a town in like the very distance. There are heat waves.
Yeah,
and you're like,
that's so funny.
I've been traveling for so long.
Yeah, no, it's funny that people call them travelers. Like they're the first Instagram. They're the first Instagram personalities, actually.
That's true. They would walk into a town and be like, I'm in here now.
I'm a traveler, guys. And everybody's like, no way. And you got a water bottle. What?
Oh, my God. They're like, where are you from,
sir? So cool, yeah. Okay, but that's the first one, satchels, yeah.
Mm-hmm, that's the first one. And now we have basically graduated to the plastic single-use. We're talking about single-use water bottles. So Dasani, Aquafina, Arrowhead. In fact, one little thing is that what they don't tell you is that a lot of these are like literally just one company, and they change the name and label per the region. So I'm from California, so we got a lot of Arrowhead.
I've never had it.
You've never? That's the thing. You've never had Arrowhead. What was like the
Ice Mountain?
Ice Mountain? It's the same brand.
Is it? Okay.
It's the same brand. So they just like
you just ate me up because that's so true. Like I'm literally thinking about it. I'm like Arrowhead and Ice Mountain. I'm looking at the labels. They're the same labels except Arrowhead is red.
It's red. It's the same company, and there's also another one that in certain parts of the country it's just a different name, different label. You would never know they're the same company. They are right. So same company. And I never realized. I thought everyone drank Arrowhead, and then I really looked. Was doing this research, and I was like, no, oh my God, I did not know. Right?
It's regional.
So how much, though, do we use, as of right now, single-use plastic bottles? You're like, oh, I only use it, like, if I'm traveling or something, and I don't have anything. Well, even if you're like that, that's not, like, a reality for a lot of Americans. So, basically, in this article, Catherine Buchholz states, basically, that despite U.S. tap water, with, certain exceptions, such as, like, Flint, being safe to drink, around 1/3 of Americans don't consume it at all.
Yep.
Basically, another third, is more likely to drink their tap water filtered, which is one thing. So if you have like the fridge where you filter it, and then another third is drinking bottled water.
Right.
Like that is if you get like the big pack at Costco, or not even Costco, just Walmart, Target, anywhere. And basically, this entire thing was titled "America Runs on Bottled Water" because you know the saying that like, oh, America runs on Dunkins or whatever.
No, but it really does. I think that's such a good observation. I was watching. Have you watched The White Lotus?
Oh my God.
You like it?
I haven't watched it, but I did
heard a lot about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so popular, but it's in Italy, so they're just obviously living a different lifestyle. And I was just thinking about a TikTok I had seen, which basically said that when Americans drink Italian water, they feel ultra nourished like they've never had before, because basically our water, what they do is they filter out all of the minerals, so not the bad ones and the good ones. So then you're left with like just really plain water, like water that doesn't do anything. It doesn't hydrate you. It's just kind of there. It's a filler. So when you go to places like Italy, you have this really, really like potent water, almost like a super water, like because it has so much minerals in it. Because that usually comes from like waterfalls, places where rocks are, things like that. So I think we're definitely missing out, and that's why we drink so much water, because we're missing out on good water.
And that's definitely a part of it. In fact, that happens a lot. I've also seen on TikTok, it happens a lot with Italian food too.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, there's a huge problem with like people coming here and eating like regularly, and then like gaining a bunch of weight or having like stomach issues, and then they go to Italy and they like eat pasta or like bread or not even pasta, that's stereotypical, but like bread, a lot of like carbs all day, and they like almost lose weight sometimes. And it's just because a lot of like what we put in our food here as preservatives are straight up banned in many European countries,
like everywhere, for good reasons. Like
for good reasons. It's more about the fact that in Europe the policy on food preservatives is if it's not proven safe, don't put it in, and in America is if it's not proven unsafe, then you can put it in. And it seems like they would both fit with each other, but
one is more for competitive capitalist society, and one is more for just a capitalist society, not one that's creating and fostering competition.
Yeah, definitely that sort of thing. So, this is supposed to be a play on America runs on Duncan, basically because America doesn't. America
that would be a
runs.
good name for this episode.
Oh, that's true. America runs on bottled water. Right? America does run on bottled water. So 63% of Americans consume bottled water regularly, and they place that ahead of coffee, which is about 57%. And almost as many people, like 56%, as the coffee would basically just go grab soft drinks. So we are having a lot of just single-use bottled water.
Yeah.
And basically, this drink, like just bottled water, is sold at a 4,000% markup, and is
4,000.
4,000.
At first, I was like, yeah, and then I was like, wait.
You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And it was responsible for basically tens of millions of discarded containers each day.
Yeah.
So exactly your point
Tens
about
of
like
millions.
a third of all landfill trash. That's essentially very true, right? Yeah. So we've established that. Everyone kind of knows that plastic bottles are the problem. Everyone knows it. That is the number one thing you see. That and like straws and plastic bags. Those are like the, I don't know, Destiny's Child of like landfill. I'm sorry.
Destiny's Child, Holy Trinity. Wait, what? Wait, is it 2023? You said Destiny's Child instead of Holy Trinity. That is
God.
so representative of our current social climate, I feel like.
That's so true.
Okay, yeah, sure, the Destiny's Child, if you will.
That's true. I think of, Destiny's Child before I think of the Holy Trinity.
That's
Sue
so
me.
funny. That's so funny. I'm atheist, like I'm not religious at all. I do not believe in God, but I went to church on Sunday, and I sang at the 9 p.m. choir.
Oh, my God.
It was crazy. I grew up Christian, so I was like, man, I'm a kid again. But, like, being around people and, like, I've never been to Catholic church before. That's crazy. They're basically just saying things back and forth to each other that they've memorized, and they're just repeating it back and forth. Like,
oh, my God.
It is crazy. It's like a chant. Like, it's really intoxicating, and, like, I could see how people would gather up on that and then strike hard, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Like, for a second, I forgot that this is a Jesuit university, and I had a communications presentation today, and my friend next to me was like, hey, if you get nervous, don't look at anyone, just look straight, like, at the wall. Yeah. I turn around to see what's on the wall, like, because usually there's a clock. There's, like, a single, very small wooden crucifixion.
Like, there's one in every classroom?
Every classroom?
Yeah.
I did not know that. So the whole time, I'm, like, talking about my presentation, I'm just staring into Jesus.
Yes, that's exactly. Isn't that crazy? There's one in every class. At least I know there's one in every classroom in Mundelein, at least. But
and it's so small. You would think they would make it a bit bigger.
Yeah, you think they would give
it's like a little Barbie-sized Jesus on the wall.
That's funny.
Oh my God. I think bottled water is maybe like the Beyonce of like the pollution Holy Trinity.
Real.
But right. So that's the problem. And then now we're getting into, okay, what are the reusable bottles we're using? Because that's kind of been the solution we've applied for everything. Like, okay, plastic straws are an issue, reusable straws, reusable everything. Of course, that's like the natural solution. But then we go into what that technically means. So we have like the three, plastic reusable, glass reusable, and metal reusable. Glass like I have here, plastic like I used to have before she very tragically died.
Real.
And then let's first start with plastic reusable, right? So you have your plastic reusable bottles. Like, first of all, what kind of bottle do you have now? Like, do you have a metal or like?
So I use this water bottle. It's my handy dandy water bottle.
Plastic.
But it is filtered. It's a filter.
Brita. Oh,
yeah.
Brita.
It's a Brita water bottle. It's so nice to have in Chicago because then I can drink water anywhere. Otherwise, I would be just because I'm in the second third of the 1/3 of people like how they drink water. I consume it through filtered. So I get it from my sink, but filtered.
Absolutely right. So the thing about plastic reusable bottles is that the concept, first of all, and this just, I almost sound like a broken clock every episode, but this applies to every episode when it comes to, sustainable fashion or the straws you have or the tote bags. It's great if it's reusable. You have to actually reuse it. You have to buy one, not lose it. That's at me. I acknowledge my faults. Don't ever say I play God on this.
You had that for 2 years. That's a long time.
Hey, that's a long time. It's just that's the longest I've ever had.
Real.
Right. I acknowledge my faults on this podcast. You have to reuse it as best as you can when it's in your control. And the thing is, the problem, even if you do reuse it and you do everything right and you try to recycle it, right, or you try to get it because it broke, let's say, just like mine did after 2 years of service, one of the 7 like there are 7 classifications of plastic. So there's plastic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the number one type of plastic, which is also called PET, which you might hear a lot, which is polyethylene terephthalate, is used in single-use water bottles, and it's technically the most recyclable. So you're always looking for like number one plastic, by the way. So that's just a bit of a PSA, right? But those PET water bottles are only the most recyclable if they actually get recycled. And you're like, oh, why wouldn't they? Well, there are a lot of barriers when you dump your bottle in, for it to be recycled, not like just dumping it. Even if they do get recycled, because that's already one filter, even when they're recycled, they're still not particularly efficient. And that is because plastic, bringing up this again, plastic as a material cannot be recycled infinitely. So every time you recycle plastic, the plastic quality downgrades until you get to a certain point where it is no longer usable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. So every time there's always there is just a life to how much plastic you can just keep reusing. Like if you reuse it to make there are many ways plastic is reused now.
Were you gonna say sweaters?
Sweaters, yeah,
I've seen that too.
Yeah, right. Sweaters, people are using it to like build homes. It's like there are a crazy amount of things.
They're gonna keep getting smarter. Honestly, I used to be. Oh my god, I'm about to cry. Calm down.
My god.
Oh my god, what happened?
This mic is in front of me. I'm like,
wait, but just. There's a certain sense of hope that I have in the world that I've never had before. I've always been a very realistic person when it comes to understanding the social issues and our social climate. And being around my peers, our creativity, our passion, our drive makes me have hope in the future for the environment. Like, I just think that even the smallest thing about making plastic bottles into sweaters, that matters. Fast fashion is our biggest problem. If we made all of the sweaters with plastic, we'd solve 2 problems at once. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's these solutions that I think that people are beginning to piece together and make sense, and it makes me so hopeful. And, I was always like a doomsday kind of vibe.
A bit nihilistic.
Yes, like, oh no, it's just going to end. It's going to end soon, really. Maybe 5 to 10 years even, very, very narrow outlook, when really it's vast and people are making such big accomplishments and strides daily. Like Greta Thunberg, oh my god, just
my god, girl got carried out at the German protest, and and she was smiling.
I saw that, and she knows that people are going to help her, and we need more people like her. We need more white women to put their lives on the line. Real.
Oh my god,
I'm being real, actually.
See, the thing is, when I do a lot of this research, it can get very depressing. A lot of times it is me just sitting in front of my computer, and there's so much information.
Yeah.
I have like 20 tabs open at once. There's so much to go through. Even when I was making, I think, this research paper in the beginning, I'd say, wow, oh my god, we are coming up on 1.5 years now. Right. Soon it might, after half a year it'll be 2, because that's how math works. But it did get very depressing at a certain point.
Yeah.
But I think the point that I tried to do at least nearly every episode is just like, what is the solution? And I also want to just point out that like I might be nitpicking like, oh, we're doing this reusable thing, but it's not actually as reusable. But we are, it's the fact that we're doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
We are very much getting somewhere, and that it does make me a bit optimistic. Like by the end of this, I don't want to, close my laptop and just stay awake all, for a long time. Like, oh my god, I'm doomed. We're doomed.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes you get like nice news too. Like, this is a little bit off topic, and I will return back to this. But actually, right now, for the first time in about 45 years, no rhinos have been killed in India.
Oh, lit.
Yeah. It's amazing.
That's cool.
It's amazing. For the first time in 45 years, we're making progress.
I mean, like rhinos.
Every year you would hear about, like, especially of the rarer species rhinos, like, there are only maybe 500 rhinos left in the world.
It's not funny, but the commercials are sad as hell.
Oh, my God. And
they get sad.
Yeah, right? And it's like, only, 400 rhinos left in the world, this and that. Progress is being made. No matter how bleak things are looking, we really are making so much progress.
We're just at a turning point.
We're at a turning point, and it's like, it's difficult to see the other side, but we just have to keep turning. We'll know what it looks like soon.
Agreed, yeah.
And that's kind of what we're getting at here, which is that PET plastic, we are on the reusable plastic now. The thing is to make that process better. The recycling process for that PET plastic, when it gets recycled, is complicated, expensive, and it does kind of have unclear carbon reduction results. It's a bit shifty on that. And the main thing is that even if it does get turned into a sweater, and that sweater, let's say, gets used for maybe 5 years, and then they like donate it or whatever. And let's say it ends up in a landfill and they try to recycle it again. There are only so many times they can do it. However, it's like we have to try to keep it out as long as possible until we try to find some way to dispose of it. You know,
I still think it's just even thinking about water bottle being able to be a sweater, it just changes my outlook on life almost. It just makes that reality, which was so bleak and sharp, seem soft and approachable. I really, really like that idea.
Absolutely. The future is malleable,
right.
for sure. And we are doing it.
Yeah, old people make it seem like our future's fixed, and they already fixed it for us. You know what I mean? Like, they stay making it sound like we can't do anything, and that's why I probably have this mindset of, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no reason why I should think to myself, I can't change the world. I'm just saying, like, you're supposed to give...
We've changed so much
yes.
in the past, you know,
yes.
lifetime.
I
Not
agree.
even a full lifetime. There are people who are born...
I'm 20. I'm not even... You know what I mean? I'm 20 and I've changed so much. You're what, 18?
18.
Changed so much already. Look, we're recording in a podcast studio. Our grandparents wouldn't have even thought about this being possible. You know what I mean?
No, you're absolutely right.
It's going fast.
It's going fast.
Yeah.
People are getting involved at a younger age, and it's going fast.
We're taking care of our skin younger. We look younger. Because old people be looking like bananas. They're young as hell.
Oh my god, not the collagen.
Sorry, guys. No, where is it? Where is the collagen? Where's the collagen when you need it? Oh my god. But yeah.
Most people simply, and that, right now what I'm talking about is recycling the plastic. This is what happens if you choose to recycle the plastic. Unfortunately, most people do not actually recycle their plastic.
Right.
In fact, like, if you're taking a sum of the world has produced 8.3 billion tons of original plastic, but recycled only 9% of it. However, we are making progress, but it is relatively just a kind of new thing. I mean, you think about how, once again, back on the bottle into sweater, how many years ago did you even start hearing about that?
Yeah.
Not very much, right? So it's a new thing.
All of these things are very new.
This year, right?
Yeah.
I heard maybe like a year ago, 2 years ago.
My mom doesn't recycle. She's never recycled. I've never
Right?
recycled.
So these are all, like, we are on a turning point. We should keep pushing ourselves very hard, but we shouldn't expect too much in like such a small amount of, it's true, 9%, but you think about how much of that 9% occurred within the last few years.
Right.
You know?
No, even just from 2020 to 2023.
Exactly. Right?
You know, with the uproar of COVID and COVID materials, COVID protection materials, people recycle that. They do recycle that. I know that they do. But sometimes it has to be thrown away, and I think that's also something that should be taken into consideration. The fact that there's so many more medical things happening because we're making advancements as humans, and there's more single-use items that have to be used in medical settings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the whole issue of like microplastics and everything.
Oh my God.
So that's what I've just discussed right now. So we're talking about plastic reusable bottles. We're saying that, first of all, you have to reuse it for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Then you have two options, recycle it or not recycle it. Since technically plastic reusable bottles are meant to be recycled most of the time, not all the time, you should probably check about the bottle. You should check if it's, what is it classified as, the plastic, 1 through 7. If it is meant to be recycled and you recycle it, hopefully it actually gets recycled properly. We have to see how many times it can be used when it does get successfully recycled. And then also what happens if it doesn't, right? So there are still many errors with that process. So that's what we've covered with plastic reusable bottles. Any thoughts?
I think that I really agree with thinking about plastic in a different way. I really think that plastic is new, and I was watching this thing about plastic, like when it was made and when it was on its turning point, also vinyl, like in the 40s and 50s. And I think that we need to talk to those people about plastic. The people who grew up in the 70s and 80s when recycling didn't exist. And then, pre-1970, before, like the Clean Air Act, before people even knew that stuff was happening to the air because of stuff that we're doing. These connections aren't being made, but these are the people who are contributing the most to our waste, like people who go on cruises every year. That's like that's a very innocent action, but in itself, you're creating thousands of tons of waste for fun. I mean, that's with any traveling, but when you go on cruises, there's an excess that has to be thrown away because you can't save it. Like, there's certain things about the way that people, I think, 2 generations above us, so like 1980, 1970, 1990, people who were born then, how they think about plastic. Even I have an older stepsister who, maybe she's like 27 or 28 now, she would throw a McDonald's bag out the window, the whole bag after you were done eating. And I asked her about it. And she was like, don't worry, Imani, when you get older, you'll understand. I've been waiting. I've been waiting.
You have your calendar and you've been like,
come on.
every year
Yes,
you get older and you're like,
yes, like
every birthday you're like, I still don't understand.
I just don't understand. Like, I just can't wrap my head around it. And I've been waiting. That's just something that really, like, is on a treadmill in my mind. Like, waiting for the day where I think that throwing a whole McDonald's bag outside of my car is appropriate. But I think that... I think that's something that people in our reality don't realize is that was so normal 10 years ago. So normal. We just didn't even know it was wrong because we were so young, right? Like, I don't know. I think that we need to have conversations with the people who are contributing to the waste the most and stop talking to the people who care. Like, I hope that people who listen to this will share this with people who need to know more about plastic, not people who just will agree with it.
I agree with everything you said. I want to add to that. I think we need to, go to people who might have been raised differently than us.
Yes.
They're not on social media seeing all of the, like, whatever I saw that made me write this research paper in the first place. I also think we need to start them young. I believe in indoctrination when it comes to this.
Even younger. There's actually this thing called ecophobia that happens when you introduce these ideas to children when they're super young. I talked about it with an environmental science teacher I had. They were talking to me about how when you teach kids about these big concepts like, if a kid found out about the landfill island, think about how much hope you would lose in the world. It creates ecophobia.
That's very true.
Yeah,
actually.
I would recommend you look into that.
In fact, you were even talking just now. You were getting a little bit emotional about just like maybe what you had witnessed, and like maybe you weren't even started off like as young.
Yeah.
So when I say indoctrination, I don't mean like actual.
But that's, I know. I agree with that.
The thing is, it can in our age today, there's such an overload of information, which I deal with every time I have to condense this into a doc to repeat on this podcast. There's such an overload of information that it is very easy to just see like all these numbers being thrown at you.
Yeah.
All these helpless just now 44,000%. These bottles are being marked.
We used to
right?
My God.
And you're so used to hearing these like outrageous numbers.
I really
For a second
am.
You were like, okay, and you're like, wait a minute.
No, I totally was. And being an environmental policy major, I'm constantly hearing numbers, statistics, this, that, the third, and that was still a surprising statistic for me, for sure.
Right? And it's data. I think you do stuff with data too. It's like totally like an involvement with that.
No, you're right with the start 'em young. Like, I wish there was a campaign for water bottles to recycle them. I feel like I want to have all these ideas for businesses to be more sustainable, but they won't do it unless it gets some money, but it won't harm them either,
I think when I say start them, I don't mean like you sit like little Tommy down and you're Tommy, have you seen the video with the turtle in it where they're like, we're not scarring children anymore. I think it's more of like, and this is a bit of a weird idea. I'm getting into your realm now, but those like Fisher Price toys that are like a play kitchen, a play this. It's like you have a play kitchen and then you throw it into the recycle bin.
Yeah. No. I'm trying to say that I completely agree. Like, I think that if we had these little, like maybe just even a campaign on the back of water bottles, like, please recycle me. Yeah. They started doing that, and that is effective. When I see that, I recycle it because I think to myself, I'm going to recycle this now. But
when you see the trash cans with like if they're actually doing it,
or I guess I mean like on actual water bottles on every single label, like as big as the brand name would be, is it as big as the recycling pushing should be.
Absolutely. Now that we've covered that, we're getting on to the other kind, which is glass and metal reusable bottles. So metal, I'd like to bring up an example. There's so many examples of metal reusable bottles. They're like thermoses particularly. They're less of like just water bottles. They're more for like coffee, tea, those sort of things. Soup. Oh yeah. One thing I kind of want to spotlight are like a company like, Clean Canteen with a K.
Oh, yeah.
Clean Canteen with a K. I have to admit, and I'm not ashamed to say, I think the first time I had heard of Clean Canteen was in a Chris Fleming skit where he was like pretending to be like the millennial college student, and he was like, I carry on my Clean Canteen. It was like a song, and I was like, okay. But it's an actual brand. And there's another one like also SIG, like SIGG.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one exactly, but they are very much a prominent, metal water bottle brand. And they are very much ones that are focused on sustainability. A lot of them just focus on being reusable. In fact, one thing is that like the marketing for a lot of reusable plastic bottles before like the whole I wouldn't say eco boom because that started like time before that, but I'd say the more recent eco boom where it's like trendy now, before the trendiness of the eco boom, I'd say that many reusable bottles were simply marketed as like you don't have to spend money on getting like the pack from Walmart or Target every single time if you need a reusable bottle. You don't have to carry that thing around, throw it in the trash, whatever. You can just have this and just keep refilling it anywhere, right? And then now you have these newer companies, I'd call them newer companies, or at least newer in the race, which are definitely doing the trendy thing, playing into like the marketing of like, okay, we're really clean. They kind of, SIG in particular boasts that they boast the recyclability of their aluminum water bottles. So they use aluminum, and they say that aluminum is completely recyclable, and that their bottles are made from 100% virgin aluminum, basically aluminum that's never been used. And basically, consequently, each 150 gram, or like 1 liter of the bottle that they release, is about 0.77 pounds of carbon before it's even left the smelter, like the aluminum smelter. Right? And also, I want to remark that they are saying that they're using virgin aluminum. They're like boasting that fact, which is nice, that's reusable. I would maybe encourage them to use recyclable aluminum. Or
I'm so dead. They thought they ate. They were like, this is virgin aluminum.
This is virgin aluminum.
Yeah.
She's
no,
pure.
You're bad. You're a bad guy. Yeah.
I mean, I understand the concept of pumping out. Like, I would understand if they're like, of course, if, our consumer base is growing, we can't just keep using, like, we can't sit around and wait for our customers to throw away, finally recycle their bottle. Right? But it's like, I would appreciate if they're manufacturing new bottles with their aluminum, and then also taking the bottles that have already been recycled and being like, hey, if you're done using your bottle, it's like been years or whatever. They're also a new company, so I'm giving them time, right? I'm just saying, I hope that they have this in their initiative, that like in 10 years, right, when their customers actually, or I'd say probably 5 too, when their customers actually stop using the bottles, at like, some sort of encouragement to send it back to us and we will recycle it into a new bottle. I would like to see that rather than just like, we are taking so much aluminum right now. We are making fresh bottles off the press for you guys.
We are getting it straight from the mines.
Like,
what is wrong with you?
Straight from the mines.
Why would they think that attracts someone? Have you ever watched it's this movie with Adam Sandler in it. It's called Hidden Gems or something.
No.
Basically, he's like this guy who's on a heist to find this gem that for this basketball player, because the basketball player thinks this is lucky gem. And it's an opal, and the opal is an opal that's from a really small tribe in Ethiopia, and the movie is basically following the stone from Ethiopia to New York, where they're arguing about it, and basically how people die over this stone, like not only in Ethiopia, but then once it gets here, a bunch of people are dying just to get the stone. And like those precious metals and those things that we don't even think about are finite, and they're not forever. So
yeah. And then even based on that, a 1999 MIT study showed that producing 1 ton of this virgin aluminum generates basically 10 times more carbon dioxide than the production of a ton of steel, let's say. You see a lot of stainless steel water bottles, right? So just want to highlight that too. Like, recycled aluminum, by contrast, would only utilize 5% of the energy that virgin aluminum does. So once again, I'm saying, like, they're probably a younger company. Not like fresh off the bat, but like a younger company. But I would encourage them to actually start, once their consumers have had the bottle for some time. Encourage like a send it back to us process, so that they can actually, and it'll make them look good. They probably save money on resources too.
I love when they do those things.
I mean, how much do you think it costs them to maybe, I think it actually says that it does cost them quite a bit to mine virgin aluminum, And
could only imagine.
Yeah. And then, so you have that with metal water bottles, right? So you have, like, SIGs with their virgin aluminum. I love saying it like that. And then you have stainless steel water bottles, which I'm sure you've seen before.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, yes, it's just that debate of, like, we have to recycle it. If we're saying we're going to recycle it, we should. It should not just be like, okay, we're making more and more metal. We should actually be reusing that. In a way, in fact, that plastic sometimes can't be, because plastic is not infinitely reusable. One thing that is 100% recyclable and reusable is glass. So I've changed my ways. This is my, hero arc or whatever. I've gone from like a water bottle, absolute mass consumer to hopefully just, as long as it doesn't break, keeping this for as long as possible.
Yeah, glass is a pretty good solution, I guess. Yeah.
So glass is 100% recyclable. It's infinitely recyclable in a way that plastic is not, just as I said before. So it can be transformed into a new product again and again and again without any loss in quality, right? And in fact, there has been some progress with this again. So just some time back, there was an article, not just one article, basically there was an entire story titled The World's Most Sustainable Glass Bottles that were created in a groundbreaking biofuel trial. So it's also taking the sort of carbon element, because every time I bring up, like, oh, there's this solution, if you create this, reusable product, every time, it's my moniker at this point, I bring up how much carbon it's using. Just like the metal bottle, 150 grams, 0.77 pounds in carbon, right? Over here, this was actually testing making these reusable glass bottles with biofuels. So this was done by a research and technology organization called Glass Futures, which is kind of a cool name. And they made basically it out of waste organic materials. So that's what they meant by, like, biofuels. So they're using waste organic materials, which are renewable and much more sustainable than, like, fuel source, such as carbon. And they put that into the glass sector, and they are planning on reducing the carbon footprint of each bottle by up to 90%, which is great, right? And by using up to 100% of the recycled glass to create the new bottle, the trial has been able to actually minimize the lifetime impact of the bottles themselves. So this is happening actually at NSERC's, the NSERC's plant, which are manufacturers in Darlin, Northern Ireland. And they're expected to kind of come over in the next few weeks when this article was written, which was February 8, 2021, so last year. Almost rounding on 2 years now. Oh my God, 2023, right?
I was about to say that's close. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so in the next 2 weeks it will have had its 2-year anniversary. And they're expected to come in over the next few weeks and feed into the UK government's policy around decarbonization. So yeah, that's one thing I thought was, more, hopeful, I guess. And I don't see why that couldn't be also implemented with maybe SIGs and their virgin aluminum, or, hopefully when they go into recycled, or anything like that, right? So hopefully that's something I think that should get implemented across the bottle industry when it comes to making these reusable bottles.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, and then I think that's basically we've covered all the bottles. We've covered as right now our problem, which is the single-use plastic bottles. Then we have the reusable plastic bottles, and then we have the glass and metal bottles. And then there are certain solutions. Like, okay, you've complained this much. What are the solutions when it comes to just the carbon footprint of making all these bottles? Do people use them? Do people recycle them? Do they get recycled if they do recycle them? And I actually want to spotlight another company called Cycle Water. And Cycle Water actually, they're once again a very young company, but they have introduced a new concept called canned water. So
I love canned water.
Canned water?
I love canned water.
You know canned water?
I've had canned water.
Oh my God, how was it?
It's like liquid death.
I've never had canned water.
Oh, okay, so there's this really big brand, and it's called Liquid Death.
Oh.
And it's just water.
Why is it called death?
Because it's just water. It's like it's supposed to be like a fun.
Oh, it's supposed to be funny. That's like it makes you think of like an energy drink, but it's just water.
It's just water in a can, and it's in like a can, like has a gold cap, so it's kind of like a beer can, and it's called Liquid Death.
Oh,
even though it's like Liquid Life.
Absolutely right. So this is another company that's basically investing. They're saying that the future is canned water when we're talking about basically reusable water, because there's also the whole like, okay, if we have these bottles, we have to recycle them, this and that. This is sort of a spin. Oh my God. This is sort of a spin on basically the single-use plastic water bottle where you get it in a pack, you drink it, and you throw away the packaging. Well, this is like, you can do that too, but this time it's in a can form, which is easier to recycle, right? Because we're, once again, working with metal, unlike plastic, which is not infinitely recyclable. So, canned water. So, Cycle Water is saying that they're using canned water to package their alkaline and mineral-rich premium spring water, which is what you're talking about with Italy, right? And they're saying it's sourced in small batches, uses aluminum, is infinitely recyclable, and the majority of important boxes for anything impact-conscious and environmentally friendly. And that's kind of one company that's doing that. And I think, if you had to ask me, there are many scientists. And by many scientists, I think I had found this one scientist who are, in relation to the canned water. They're saying that until companies start converting single-use aluminum cans into water bottles, which is what's happening with canned water right now, and until we can find bottles that are made from 100% recycled materials, which is what I'm hoping metal bottle companies will do, Scientists such as like Kendra Pierre-Louis suggest returning to the old days, which is what we talked about in the way beginning of this episode. The old days in terms of like when you would walk into a deserted town with a flask. But they're not saying a flask. Basically, Pierre-Louise is saying, and this is a quote, this is a lengthy quote, she's saying, given that we, Americans, spend 87% of our time indoors within spitting distance of clean drinking water, and this old-fashioned thing called cups, okay, why do most of us need water bottles? Instead of boldly declaring our greenness by purchasing a water bottle, isn't it greener to do what we did before? We all strolled in through the town with bottled water in tow, drink from public drinking fountains or out of glasses at home and at work, or simply be thirsty for a while until we can get to a water source. So this is what she's saying. Before
claim.
I say, yeah, it's a very bold statement. Normally you see people being kind of nice about, like, when they're talking about changing habits for sustainability, they're like, oh, maybe just
something
like,
approachable.
Something approachable. She's very much just like, she's kind of roasting us, too.
She said, no,
like,
y'all dumb, actually.
Yeah, she's like, you're dumb. Just like, she's like, you guys are soft. Just like, you know, be thirsty until you reach the next
Nah,
one.
she said be thirsty. That I almost laughed. I'm not going to lie, friend.
I know.
That was funny.
What are your thoughts on that before I go into my take?
I just think that it's interesting that someone would really say, or just be thirsty, when we literally created water bottles so that we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I really understand the sentiment. I really do. But it is a bold claim.
It is a bold claim.
And I think that bold claims like that can deter the people who we're trying to attract. But also, I'm a bold claim girl. I love saying bold claims like that. So.
I understand the bold claim.
Right.
I understand people being
it.
frustrated with also maybe less bold claims because they're like, you're not doing enough. You're not.
Yes, like I respect that.
You seem very passive. I respect it, but I do also have to acknowledge what you said, where like if I was someone new and I read this for the first time, I would be deterred in the sense that I read this and I was almost going to not include it because I was like, girl, like, what do you mean?
What are you
like,
saying?
I understood the first part. And okay, so this is my personal take, right? My personal take would be, first of all, just pushing companies towards actually utilizing the recycled bottles we have already disposed of. That is the number one thing. It's nice that they're reusable, make them recyclable, recycle them, right? That is the number one thing. And then my second thing is that I agree with her point of using cups at home, for sure. I feel like unless the bottle has a filter and you like don't want to drink unfiltered water, like if you're taking unfiltered water from the tap and it's filtering through the bottle and you're using that instead of a cup, that's fine. But I'm talking about like the people who have cups at home, have like the fridge filter or whatever, and still will like sit at their desk with their hydro flask because they don't want to get up and get a glass of water, which is a surprising amount of people. Right? And so I'd say, yes, use cups at home and use like a single glass or metal bottle for as long as possible. And then hopefully, if companies follow the first thing I said, then you can recycle it once you're done. Fingers crossed. Any remaining thoughts?
No, I feel like we've really covered and got real into it. It's very crazy. 4,000%.
4,000%.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
But yeah.
So I think hopefully we are working to that sort of future where,
I think we are.
You know, maybe one day we'll have like, you know how we have like the 3 trash cans where it's like put plastic in this. Maybe one day we'll have a trash can where it's like you can put metal bottles in it, right? Or I would approve even if like those are like you shouldn't be putting them in a trash can because you're not even sure if they'll reach the recycling plant. Maybe something where the company is like send it back to us, you know.
Just a more sustainable solution.
Just a more sustainable solution. Like we're getting there, but we have to like fully commit.
Yeah, I feel like the generation. Okay, so you're looking at the 50s and 60s. 40s, 50s, 60s, they're creating all the problems that we have to fix. 70s, 80s, 90s,
I would say that though the 40s and 60s they did probably drink way more from the water fountains.
Oh yeah,
I have not to this day for the past maybe 10 years I've not seen anyone other than like in elementary school drink from a water fountain because it's like they're gross.
Oh really? Okay.
I don't even know.
I guess what I'm trying to say with the 40s, 50s, and 60s is that they set up systems for failure. They did not set up systems that were sustainable. They set up really bad systems, and then we were left with like having to fix it in like the 70s and 80s and 90s, and that's what that was all about, like addressing the problems. What are the problems? Finding quick solutions to the problems. And I feel like now, current, like early 2000s up to now, all we're doing is like creating solution.
I think though that is like less of like 40s and 50s and 60s. It is like that's the current cycle we're in. I just feel like it truly is a cycle that is repeated so many times. Like I can probably mention like probably a time in the 1800s where everything was going wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
And then they
like
fix something.
You know, there's always that's just how human society works, right? We start off with like our initial idea, we implement it, we're like, this is going great, and then the long term consequences, whatever goes wrong starts to go wrong. We realize that things are going wrong, which is a whole battle, right?
Yeah.
70s, 80s, right? And then we have to create solutions, and we create a new system, and then you know, no system is perfect, so it'll have problems, and then this is just how we keep progressing, right? So right now, this is like our part of the circle. We are on the turn. I think that's the thing of this episode.
A cusp, if you will.
We are on the cusp, and we do not know what the other side looks like, but we should have hope. We should push SIGs to stop using virgin aluminum. Yeah. No, I'm picking on them. Obviously, not just them, in fact. At least they're realizing part of the reusableness of their bottles. We should push all companies, basically, into actually reusing the materials of their reusable bottles. We should stop using plastic as much as we can, right? Move to something that is infinitely recyclable. And we should just commit. We should fully commit.
I agree with this.
All right. Thank you so much. And I think that is it for this episode.